Okay, good morning. So we're up to Siman Reish Mem Dalet Halacha Dalet. We're continuing the discussion about work done by a non-Jewish person for a Jew on Shabbos. So says the Mechab in Sif Dalet, Meleches Fahesia, public work, afilu b'metaltalin, even metaltalin, which have a lower status than karka, Kagain Sfina Hayadu Ali Yisrael. For example, you get a non-Jewish person to make you a boat. Whether it's a small boat or a yacht or whatever it is, Dina Kamay Meleches Mechubar has the same status as Meleches Mechubar, which is more serious. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Hayidu Yisrael. So, for example, it's well known that you're building a yacht, and this guy is doing it for you. So it's got a din of Mechubar. Says the Mishnah Berurah Chaf Gimel, Ein Ma'iri Sha'isoi Sabrishus Yisrael. We're not talking about where he's doing it in your front yard. Because even if this boat had a status of metaltalin, if he's doing it in your rishus, then it's going to be also because the much b'simin basic base. After metaltalin also there it says that if metaltalin is being made in the rishus of Yisrael, then it's also. He's working in his yard, in his warehouse, and still it's a problem. Only if he's doing it in a pretty public place where if he's doing it quietly somewhere, then it's different. Okay, so in other words, just to summarize, Sif Dalet has said that even though we're strict generally for mechuba, where he's doing some building works for you, we are strict and we don't allow that on Shabbos, Gazer of Schiriyim, like we discussed in the beginning of the Siman. But for metaltalin generally it's okay for movable items. However, a sfina, a ship, has a din of karka, of mechuba, and therefore it's problematic. If it's Yudul Yisrael, so we say din kamei meleches mechuba, it's got a din of mechuba, and we say dafka if it's in the rishus of Yisrael. But if he does it discreetly in his own, the guy does it discreetly in his own warehouse, then it would be okay, unless it was well known that he's doing it for the Yisrael. Okay, Sif hey. If a person hires an Yehudi, a non-Jewish person, for a year or two, that he's going to be available to write for him, he can dictate his letters and important documents and things like that. Or he's going to be his tailor, his personal tailor. So then this non-Jewish person can continue his work on Shabbos. In other words, I hire him for the year, and he's my scribe, or he's my tailor, and he's got work to do. And if he chooses to do it and do the work on Shabbos, that's not my problem. That's okay. It's up to him. So Kosiv Eri b'Shabbos. Because it's as if I'm just hiring him to do some work, and if he chooses to do it in his own time, and it happens to be on Shabbos, then that's not a problem. For who? So long as there is no sort of daily accounting, and also he's not doing it in the Bais Yisrael. If he's sitting in the corner of my room when I'm having my sort of Shabbos meal, and he's sitting in the corner stitching my begodim or writing letters for me, then that's a problem. And so two criteria. Number one, we don't do a daily reckoning, because it's going to come out that this is what you're being paid for Shabbos, and it's Shabbos work, and he doesn't do it by Bais Yisrael. Others are more strict, and they say that if you hire out an Ein Yehudi for a period of time, then it's asa. And that's specifically if it's for a specific purpose of a certain beged or certain sefer that he's writing. Then that would be okay. But if he's just around and available for me, then lekula alma also. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah for more detail. Sif Kot and Chaf Dalet. So the Mechaber said that if you hire an Ein Yehudi to be your scribe, then Harizeh Kaisev Erev Shabbos. He can go ahead and do all this work on Shabbos. Kosev Mogan Avram. Now this Mechaba is largely based on the Rambam. The Yesh Misha Isa we'll see is the Raavad. So the Rambam says that if you hire the Eni Yehudi to be your scribe or to be your tailor, then he can get on with his work on Shabbos, because it's as if I've hired him to write a sefer, to make some begodim, and he can do it whenever he wants to do it. So it says the Magen Avram, Kavonas HaRambam Keder Chasarim Sheish Lehem Sefer Miyuchad Uchayat Miyuchad. Like dignitaries, they've got their scribe, they've got their tailors. Shebechol Shetzorech Hasar Lichtov Mechuyev Lo Lichtov. That whenever I need something written, I get the scribe to write me something. And when I don't need him, he's twiddling his thumbs, he's just sitting doing nothing. And therefore it's mutter for this Ein Yehudi to write or to weave and to do my tailoring on Shabbos, because he can do it whenever he wants to do it, and it's his choice to have chosen to do it on Shabbos. Shari Yisrael ein omer le'lasses b'Shabbos. I haven't told him to do it on Shabbos. V'imrot sa'is l'mocha, and if he wants to do it on Sunday, if he wants to, he could have done it on Sunday, and I don't benefit so long as I get my clothes at the end of with the end of the period, or my letter, whenever it is. So I don't get any particular benefit from that he does it on Shabbos, because he could have done it on Friday or on Sunday. However, if he's constantly working for me, he's got ongoing work the whole time, then osa afla Rambam lichtav leil b'Shabbos. Then even the Rambam would say that it's forbidden to him to do this work on Shabbos. Even though occasionally he can take a day off and go here and there, there where there's constant work, and he's doing work and writing letters or doing my tailoring on Shabbos, then I'm clearly getting benefit from that. And even the Rambam would agree that would be osa. And the Taz says no. Actually, even the Rambam would say this is also considered kablonis and this is okay. You can't say that I need him to work on Shabbos for me, because actually, if he takes a day off and he wants to just go away or do whatever, then I'm not overly worried. But if literally it's 365 days a year, or it's a period of 3 months and he can't take any breaks, then everyone would agree that it's also, because included in that period of time is of course working on Shabbos, and but he doesn't take a day off. It's as if he made him work on Shabbos. You know what it's a bit like? It's a bit like when you've got you need to go take your car to the mechanic, or you take your suit into the dry cleaning. It's got to be a possibility that he does it outside of Shabbos. So if I take my suit on Erev Shabbos, literally half an hour before Shabbos, and I'm going to pick it up Motzei Shabbos, and I've taken 3 suits to the dry cleaner and a few dozen, a few shirts, then of course he's going to do it over Shabbos. So it's as if, even though I didn't say anything, it's as if I've instructed him to do it over Shabbos. Well, here as well, if I'm makbid that he's not going to take a day off and he's got ongoing work, then it's as if I've told him to do it on Shabbos. Oid Kosev Hataz, that if I hire an Ein Yehudi, a non-Jewish person, to finish off writing a sefer or to make a beged, oisezman, who makbid, like I just said, because it's inevitable that he's going to have to finish it over Shabbos. There's no way he can do it outside of Shabbos. Maybe he could work through the night on Thursday night. He's got that choice. Because people don't generally work through the night; they work in daytime hours. And therefore, if it's inevitable that he's going to have to do this work on Shabbos, it's as if I've instructed him to do this work. Okay. The Mishnah Berurah takes out the word beged. In other words, you hire the Ein Yehudi sheyichtav lo, that he's going to write for you, or sheyerag lo, or he's going to tailor for you. Lav dafka sheyerag lo beged. Okay, he takes out the word beged.
Is the idea here that it's just a contract? It's just like an open-ended.
Yes, but
a contract over a long period of time.
Exactly. So you're hiring out this person to do this particular work for you, and the question is it inevitable that he's going to have to do work on Shabbos?
So it could be a cleaner, a hose.
So cleaner we'll come to. We'll talk about cleaners. Most of the time they're not doing melachas, and even if they are, then for example, you're getting them to wash up, right? You get a non-Jewish cleaner who's going to wash your dishes. So they're allowed to use warm water. So you're not telling them to do any melacha. You're telling them to wash up. They could wash up with cold water in a halachically acceptable way, in the same way that you could wash up. But if they choose to use warm water because it's sort of easier on their hands and it's unpleasant to use cold water, that's adaita denafshi. He says it in one of the notes here. He says that pretty much. That's the generally understood thing.
But for example, there's a pile of laundry for them to do in your house.
So then that's different because and then also you come on to other issues of zilzul Shabbos. For example, let's say you ask them to hoover or to clean the carpet, right? Or to wash the windows. The windows need clean. They could. You do it take a tissue and just wipe it, whatever, without schita, without. But then if they're choosing to do it in this way, but then you're right. Then everything we said so far could be applicable. But there's another issue of zilzul Shabbos. It's just not Shabbosdik to have your hoover going on Shabbos. But for example, in a shul and other areas, then it could be different. There's other issues of mitzvah derabim and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, those are the issues. Yeah, okay, let's carry on. So then Sif Kotzen Chavvov Shelo Yachshav Imo. But then we said V'hu Shelo Yachshav Imo Yom Yom, that you're not accounting on a daily basis every single day. I.e., that you're not particular if he misses a day or two here. That's one of the reasons why the Rambam would say it's okay. And furthermore, V'lo Yasa Melach Beis Yisrael. Why? Because if he's sitting in my house doing the work, then even if it's proper kablonos, I'm paying him for the job and not for the day-to-day work, then even that would be also if it's doing it in my house. Now, that's the Rambam. Then the Mechaber said, there are those who are stricter. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah Chavches, who das harayvet? That is the Raavad, who of course is one of the first commentary on the Rambam, and is in almost every edition is printed in the actual text, and he argues with the Rambam. According to the Taz we mentioned earlier, we can understand why the Raavad says it's also. Why? The Svir lei the afshe ena makbid al bitulei mikol mokum hari Yisrael marviach al yodei. That even though I'm not makbid that he's there every single day, but at the end of the day, I'm getting benefits through this non-Jewish person's work. And even according to Magen Avraham, it's okay, it's understandable. I'm getting benefit from the work that he's done for me on Shabbos. Because maybe on Sunday, when he was planning on doing this other work, or he was going to do this work and he decides to choose to do it on Shabbos, but I get benefit because now he's available for me on Sunday. Then you couldn't have done both, so therefore there is some sort of benefit, and that's what the Raavad would be concerned about. Okay, now the Ramah adds and says, that's when do we say it's okay? When it's melachim yuchedes. For example, I'm make for me a particular item of clothing or a certain sefer to write. That's when it's going to be. That's okay. Because I just, in 2 weeks' time, I just want my suit made by him, or I just want this igeres written, for him, and therefore I don't get particular benefit that he's done it on Shabbos. I don't need this. It's not pressing. But if there are other things going on that I need other work done, and therefore him doing it on Shabbos means he's available on other days, then it's a problem. Even if I'm not particularly bothered if he misses a day here, a day there, but I've got other work for him, then it's a problem. That's what the Ramah carries on. The Ramah says, he's just available for me for the next week, a month, whatever it is, to do all this work. Then l'kula alma also, because if he does the work on Shabbos, then he's available on Sunday to do other work, and I'm benefiting in that way. Says the Mishnah Lamed, L'chol HaMelachos, u'mitam zeh yesh limchus biyad hashfochos k'she'osim melechas Adonai b'Shabbos. And therefore, because of the above, you've got to protest against maids who do work in Jewish homes on Shabbos. Let's say you've got a non-Jewish worker who's doing your laundry, or let's say was doing your tailoring or something like that on Shabbos, in a situation where they do it on Shabbos and they're now going to be available for you to do other things on Sunday, then you should protest. Because they're generally being hired for all types of work. For Chol Shekain, and certainly if they're doing it in the Jewish home, that's also, even like we said before, that because they're doing it in your home. To do this melacha in the Jewish house on Shabbos. Because even if they're doing their own work, they're stitching their own clothes, people will assume that they're doing it for the Yisrael. The Eli Rabbi, however, brings the name of the Sefer Truma, that if the Ein Yehudi is doing their own work, that's actually mutter. V'daita shekam Rabbeinu Simcha moed lezeh, ein sham b'dvarav. V'aprima godim yishiv divrei hataz ein sham. V'ayin b'sefer Chai Odom klal samach daled, the lesakin hashifcha begodeho, for the non-Jewish person, for the au pair, the maid, to fix up her own clothes, that if it's very clear that she's doing her own stitching and her own begodim, and that's not. It's clear that she's doing her own stuff, and that's not a problem. Okay, Sifov is a longer one, so we'll do that tomorrow.